Dwayne here, your thrifty apprentice. Happy Sunday, everyone. It is New Year's Eve. I am so excited about today. I hope everyone is gearing up to go into their new year and just just be thankful that we all made it through 2023 and that we're still here and we've been allowed to continue on and press into a new year, looking forward to positive things and really great things surrounding art, of course. So in today's video, I am sharing with you guys a DIY thrifty fine art advent journal. The idea for this is a spin-off of the advent calendar. I've been watching videos on advent calendars, and it seems that the most popular one seems to be Artesa's 12-day or 24-day advent calendar, and it seems to be most videos that I viewed were about that. I did see some videos that were on advent journals, but leaning more towards junk journaling and the items included in those leaning more so towards the crafting. So what I wanted to do was to create an idea where I would be mixing a junk journal feel into a fine art advent calendar feel and let them have a baby. And this is what we have. So you guys, I'm gonna cut out in just a second so that you can see the demo for the painting of the cover that's on the journal. This is the very first one that I painted, in all honesty. I really love the tree. I did not like the way that the writing came out on this one. I used a brush. In the demo that you're about to see, you're going to see that I used a pen. And I really do like the way that the pen came out better. I really do like the way that the pen came out, it seems to be better than the writing I was able to achieve with the brush, which is why I went with this cover. Now, I did shoot this, so if you guys want to see this, jump in the comment section and let me know, and I'll release it in like maybe the Facebook group or on Patreon or on YouTube if you guys want to see it. Of course, it'll be well after Christmas and into the new year, since this is New Year's Eve. But I will still release it. It'll be really quick time lapse if you're interested in seeing how I painted that. But for right now, we're going to jump into the time lapse for the painting of the cover, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to show you the construction of the DIY advent journal, and then we're going to actually put things in it or wrap it up and store it away for an entire year so that we can do the 2024 advent calendar challenge Christmas season of 2024. So let's jump into the demo and then we'll be right back. Okay, friends, that was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And I just want to take time to kind of show you guys how this was constructed, maybe give you some ideas, keeping in mind that you do not have to use this for the purpose that I'm using it for. You can make this journal and use it as a storage book, especially for like ephemera or for art pieces that you finished, if you want to use it for something of that nature. And you're going to see what I mean in just a minute. And then we are actually going to be stuffing the Fine Arts Advent Journal with products that I have here, which sort of plays off the idea of what you would find in an advent calendar as you open each individual day. But we're going to get to that in just a moment. So the journal construction is actually pretty easy. It may look complicated, but it's not. So here we have a swan's flower cake box that I cut off the top and the bottom, and then I cut off one side of the box so that I would have the same length on the front and the back. I wanted to make sure I gave myself a little bit bigger than 5 by 7.5, which is the standard size for an envelope that fits a 5 by 7 card, because this is an envelope journal. After I got the base cut, I then measured the spine, which was 2 inches, and I cut an additional piece of cardboard that was 2 inches. Oh, it was maybe about 1.75 inches, a little bit smaller so that it could fit on the inside of the spine. Glued it on to reinforce the spine for the binding. I gave that time to dry. As that was drying and under something heavy to be pressed, in the meantime, I wanted to construct what would actually be holding the art products. And as I said, this now let me say, this is not an original idea. Natasha from Treasure Books is the first person that I saw complete a journal of this caliber. I bookmarked that idea. That was about 2 years ago, and because I felt like I wanted to get back around to it and find a way to make it my own. And I'm using that mixed in with the idea of an advent calendar in order to get an advent journal that's stuffed with fine art products. So in order to construct the signatures, here you're going to have 12 individual signatures. Now keep in mind, up to this point, we've cut the base, we've reinforced the base, we're letting it dry, okay? I found a pattern paper pack that I could pull 12 pieces of pattern paper from using the same pattern paper pack, because generally the papers in a individual pack will match each other. They'll go together, they'll be cohesive. So I found a pack that I like, because as I told you guys, I'm trying to use up all of that pattern paper. I pulled 12 pieces of pattern paper from it, and then I cut those 12 pieces of paper, which started out 12 inches wide by 12 inches long, down to pattern paper pieces that were 10 inches wide by 10 inches long. And the reason I did that is because my score pal, or my envelope maker, let me know that I need paper that was 10 by 10 in order to make an envelope that was 5 by 7.5, which is the standard size to fit a regular 5 by 7 card. So you can make this if you wanted to, and store any type of different thing in it, a multitude. You can make it much smaller. You can make your envelope smaller. Just keep in mind, I made it so that it would be this size. You can make it much bigger if you want to, if you got papers that are big enough. So, I mean, the possibilities are actually kind of limitless. And again, you can store many different types of things in it. So I took my envelope maker and I took my pattern paper, again, 10 inches long by 10 inches wide. I put it on my envelope maker, took my bone folder, and just followed the instructions to score and fold all 12 of those 10 by 10 pieces of pattern paper into 5 by 7.5 cards. Now, When you do that, the envelopes are going to be opened. They're not going to be glue bound yet. And that's a good thing. So the first thing you want to do is put those to the side, because you've got those cut and folded down to envelopes now. So you'll sit those to the side, and we're going to move back to the base, which was the Swan's cake box and the reinforcement. It has now dried. The next thing you want to do is choose what you want to wrap your base in. I chose this, what I thought was a beautiful gold embroidered denim. This is actually black denim with gold threading in it. I thought this would make for a really nice, sort of Christmassy looking journal without screaming Christmas. And I knew it would go well with what I wanted to do for the cover. So I cut out a piece of that fabric that was big enough to fit the base, giving myself an inch seam allowance on all four sides to allow me enough of that fabric to wrap around to the inside of the journal. Okay, so I glued the fabric onto the journal like we normally do. Spine first, then back, then front. Then I wrap the extra fabric to the inside, taking extra care to make sure that I got my corners as flat as I could. Once I had that set, I then cut an additional strip of this same fabric that was about 2.5 inches wide, which is a 1/2 inch wider than what the spine is, and I used that to actually cover the spine, making sure that it would give me enough fabric to run so I'd be able to lay down the inside pattern paper on it, which was the reason I cut it so much bigger than the spine was. I glued that down, and then again, with everything covered except the inside, front, and back, which you're able to see the cardboard from the original box at this point, I put that under something heavy and allowed it to dry. Now, I was using a silicone-based glue for my construction, so putting it under something heavy wasn't necessary, but I like to do it just to take extra care. Now, if you're using a water-based glue, a PVA glue, school glue, anything that's water-based as your adhesive, I always suggest that you put it under something heavy to allow it to press and dry thoroughly and hold in place. That way you can make sure that your journal is constructed well and you're not going to worry about any shifting. I have constructed journals on a channel before showing you how to do it using PVA glue, but I do typically use Fabric-Fix or Fabri-Tac, which is basically the same glue made by the Beacon company. Silicone based, quick grabbing, fast drying, and it will work on pretty much any type of surface. And I mean, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, it just happens to be the glue of choice. All of that's now being pressed under something heavy. Now we're going to switch back over to the envelopes, which at this point we've taken our 10 by 10 paper, we've put it on our envelope maker, and we've folded it down to 5 by 7.5 inch envelopes that are not sealed. Now I'm going to take each one of those envelopes that are not sealed. The first thing I did was to cut off a little piece that was going to be the bottom flap of the envelope. I set it to the side. We're going to get to what I did with it in just a second. I did that for all 12 pieces of paper. Afterwards, I lined the envelopes up in the order that I wanted them to go into the journal, and I set that stack to the side so that I could move back to the base. So for the pattern paper at this point, I have a stack of folded envelopes that have had the top part of the bottom flap removed in order to make it look more like an envelope and to allow better ease with getting in and out. That's all sitting to the side. I moved back over to my base, which has completely been covered with the exception of the inside panels. Now the pattern paper to cover the inside panels is just one sheet of pattern paper. I cut off the top, I cut it down the middle. I used the right side for the back flap, I used the left side from the front flap, and as you can see, they work cohesively together. And although this came from a different pattern pack, it still had the golds and the blacks and the purples flowing through it. So I felt like it would be cohesive and that it still gave a bit of a Christmas theme and feel. So I felt like I could roll with that. I inked around the edges. I glued both of those to the front and the back, again under something heavy, giving it time to dry. And I can't stress enough, if you're using PVA glue or a water-based glue, you definitely want to do this step. I'm getting that under something heavy. I'm letting it dry. I move back to the envelopes. Now, at this point, I have an envelope that is not sealed. The top part of the bottom flap has been removed and put into a pile. Now I want to add my numbers. I simply took stickers, and I'm only doing a 12-day journal, so I only needed 1 through 12. I went to Michael's. I bought some glittery stickers, which I felt like kind of added to the Christmas theme, but it was silver and it was bringing in a different element than the gold I had used. So I grabbed my glittery acrylic paint markers, and around each one of the numbers, I put a gold outline just to tie it in more, which is also why I used gold and gold mixed with white, silver mixed with white, so that I could tie silver and gold from the journal into the cover. So here I have my silver numbers and I have my gold acrylic marker outlining. And I went through and I did that for all 12 envelopes in the order that I wanted them to go, so that we would have all of those numbers ready on the signature. Now came attaching the envelopes. But before I could do that, I needed to finish preparing the base. So after the numbers and the acrylic marker was attached, I moved back to the base. Now for the base, I needed to put in 12 signatures. So I had to take a piece of paper, lay it on the base, on the spine, base of the spine, cut it down to be the size of the spine, and then divide it out evenly, 12 lines. That way I would know exactly what position to put the envelopes in. So there you can see that I took that, and it's 2 inches, just like the size of the spine, and divided out 12 even lines across. Then I found where I wanted my middle, top and bottom to be. Set that to the side. I hadn't punched the holes yet. I set that to the side, and then I took another piece of paper, which I've already disposed of at this point, folded it in half, and used it to fit the inside of the bottom of the envelope, because this is the part that was going to be attached to my base. Again, I found out where I wanted my middle, top, and bottom to be based on where I had it on my spine template, just making sure that they meshed up. Afterwards, I took my spine template and some tape, taped it down to my spine. I took an awl and went through and punched all 12 of those holes into the spine, top, middle, and bottom. I took the template for the envelope, set it inside the bottom section of each envelope, and went through and punched the holes into each of the envelopes to match up with where the holes were on the spine. You guys have seen me do 3-hole pamphlet stitching before, so I'm pretty sure you should be able to follow along. If not, I will link a video showing you how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, where you will see me doing this for a smaller journal, but you will get the point of how to make it as big as you need to or how to make it as small as you need to. So I will definitely link that. After I had the holes in my spine and the holes in my envelopes, I then went in with some black embroidery floss and did the 3-hole pamphlet stitch to bind all 12 journals, and you can see that here on the spine, into the book. Once I was done, I had 12 envelopes bound in with the numbers on, with the bottoms already cut, sitting in a stack, but they were still open. They weren't closed at this point because I needed them open in order to do the binding. Now the next thing I did was went through and sealed all 12 envelopes. Seal the bottom to the sides. As I sealed the bottom to the sides, I then took those triangles that I had cut off and had them sitting to the side. What I did was, if the outside was one color, I took the piece from the inside to use it as the tuck. And I just glued it around two sides of the triangle, leaving the long side open and positioning it so that I could just tuck the top of those envelopes in order to close them. Now I used double side pattern paper in order to make my envelopes, and I did it with the intentions of being able to use this idea in order to close my envelopes up. Okay, you don't have to use double-sided pattern paper. You can use single-sided. Just keep in mind your pattern piece will be on the outside and the inside will be white. So when you cut the bottom part off in order to, give you room to get in there, if you're using single-sided, you're going to have one side of that triangle be white and one side be the color of the pattern paper you already have the envelope made from. So just keep in mind, if you use this idea with single-sided, when you put that triangle down, if you don't want to use the white, it's going to be the same. It's going to have the same look as your pattern paper. It won't have any contrast. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, just something that I want you to keep in mind if you decide to use single-sided paper. And that's pretty much it. That's how I constructed the journal. It's really not hard or complicated. It's just a little tedious because you're gluing a lot of elements. I mean, you have to bind 12 individual envelopes, taking the time to measure and get the holes lined up. That was all a little tedious and took a little time, but it's not a super complicated journal to make it out. And as you can see, it does not contain a closure because we're going to be adding stuff to it, and it's definitely going to be growing. So now that I've sort of walked you through the journal construction, and if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to jump in the comment section and ask now. I'll be happy to answer anything, especially since I did not show the journal construction on camera. But I feel like if you've been following my crafting videos, you've probably seen me make enough journals to have a general idea of how I did this, because it's simply envelope sewn in with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So now let's get around talking about filling these 12 days. Now the hope is I'm going to put these items in here because there are items that I don't really use a lot. They're items that I don't really think about unless I happen to run across them looking for something else. For the most part, some of them are not, but for the most part, that's to be true. And the hope is once they're in the envelopes and sealed up and put away for a year, I'll forget about them, And if I don't, I'll still have fun creating this and using it for the Art Advent Challenge in 2024. So let's get started. Let me show you what I have real quick. I have a handmade journal that I actually made way back in the day. I'm saying way back in the day. I want to say about maybe 2 years ago when I first started journal making. This was one of the very first ones I tried. It is made from a white paper bag, actually, that I just splattered with watercolor paint in order to decorate it. I had this was like I was testing some pencils, I think it was. So I cut that off and rounded the corners, zigzagged around it, and then glued it down as the cover, and took the tag inside, which has that rose stamp that I really love to use color pencils on. I just felt like it would give me something different. Now, this is nothing that I ever showed on a channel that ever made it to Etsy to market. I mean, it wasn't that great, but I felt like it'll be cool to have something to paint for the 12 days of the Art Advent Challenge. It would keep it kind of small and compact. I wouldn't really have a lot to worry about, and it is bound with that Creative Mark Universal Mixed Media paper that I like. So I do know that I'll be able to use a lot of different types of medium on here. It has a little envelope here that opens up into a writing space. This was just an idea that I had, sort of shaped like a house. And it has some embossing on it, or some flowers. I don't know, like a little butterfly closure, kind of like the same idea of the envelopes that's in this journal. So see, that particular closure was developed a long time ago. The back has that same stamp, and it's got 3 slots here to stick tags. So that's like 3 different pockets for tags. And then there's also a tag pocket on the back. It was, again, just a little journal I made, that mixed media paper. Never really got nowhere. I have 2 acrylic paint pens, a red and a white, and I'm really thinking about adding a green to that. We'll have to see. There is ultramarine blue watercolor. That's a Cotman. This is Winsor and Newton Cotman lemon yellow hue as a watercolor. And I'm really using those because, well, I have so many Cotman paints. I won't miss those at all. Probably won't think about them until I open it. I'm also using a few of my Faber-Castell Gold Faber watercolor pencils. I just chose colors that would give me a pretty nice rounded palette, especially since you can blend watercolor pencils like you can with watercolor paints. So, and they'll work well in conjunction with watercolor paints and acrylic. You can use acrylic for accents. So I have a water brush, and then I have some drawing utensils. I have an HB pencil, I have a 2B pencil, an eraser, and a pencil sharpener, which will also help out with the watercolor pencils, right? Okay. Next up, I have a gel pen and a fine liner, and that's just a Sharpie. And I can create different variations of line depending on the pressure that I use. That is a white gel pen for accents, although I do have the acrylic pen, which can be used for the same thing, but the lines, I'm not going to be able to get as thin as I can with that gel pen. I have a fountain pen with 3 different nibs and 3 different inks. That's a black, a brown, and a blue. Some lotion on my hands. And then lastly, I have a Derwent Academy tube of crimson red. That way I would have primaries of red, white, and blue. And then I also have gouache. This is Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, a black gouache and a titanium white, which I feel like would round out that little palette as like a 5-color mixing palette with the watercolor pencils as accent. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days. So let's get this, and this is what I'll actually be using to create with. I haven't decided when I get to 2024 and we get to that particular point if I'm going to open all the envelopes and then use everything to create with over the 12 days, which is probably what I'll do. But it'll be really exciting. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this crack-a-lackin'. I'm just going to open up day 1, and this is probably gonna obscure some of these envelopes, which is why I made it so wide and tried to give myself so much room. Another reason I didn't put a closure on it either, because I know it's going to get pretty bulky because of everything I'm putting in here. Let's start off, and I guess it really doesn't matter where I put anything. I'm just going to jump in the middle here. Let's go with number 7, and we'll stick that journal in there and get that closed up. Okay, and then let's jump over to number 11. Why not? And let's put in number 11 the black fine liner and the gel pen. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go to the front somewhere. Number 3. For number 3, We'll do ultramarine blue. All right. And let's see. Let's go here. Number 6. All right, number 6. What does number 6 want? Number 6 wants the brush. It just seems to be calling the water brush. All right. And let's see. Number 8. Okay. Let's go with black wash. And number 9, might as well. We're right here. Let's take number 9 with the red and white acrylic paint pens. We're getting pretty thick here, guys. See there? No, we're not done. I might have should have left myself even more room. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do the very last one. And on the very last one, number 12, let's put the pen. Let's see if all of this is gonna fit in here. The nibs, the ink. Throw that in there. Okay. It's gonna act a little strange. Let me see, I just have to help maneuver it in place there. All right. 12, 11, number 10. Let's just go ahead and go from the back and fill this. Let's throw in the lemon yellow, ultramarine. Okay. And number 5, like this won't close it. Look at that. Oh, I did not think this through all the way. I did not. Well, we're gonna do it anyway. It's gonna be like a fan. It's gonna be so cool. Okay, that was number 6. Number 5. And for number 5, we will do, you know what, let's see if we can get all these watercolor pencils in here and still get it closed with no problem. I'm not sure. Uh-oh, maybe. Oh, success. Success. 4. So for 4, we're gonna go ahead and drop in the 2 drawing pencils. They're so long. I didn't realize they were that long. Let's see. 2 drawing pencils, eraser, and pencil sharpener. 3 got watercolor in it. 2, we're gonna drop in the red. Close that up. And for number 1, we are going to drop in whitewash. And we're gonna close that up. And there's our blossom. That's what we have. That is our stuffed 12-day art advent journal. Now, what am I gonna do with this? I'm going to sit this in a box. I'm gonna bag it. I'm gonna put it in a bag, tie the bag up so I can keep the dust off it, keep it protected. I'm gonna put that bag in a box, and then I'm gonna put it in a closet, and I will be pulling it out December 1st, 2024 in order to do the art advent challenge. So guys, I think that's pretty cool. I just wanted to share this idea with you. I hope you guys didn't find this boring. I hope it was cool. I can't even close that. Look at there. That definitely cannot be closed. This is as much in as it's gonna go. But it's pretty cool. And then once I'm done taking everything out, then I have a really cool journal to have for storage. I think it's really cool. Receipts, lists, all the papers I print, ephemera, stickers. Sorry, hit that camera. Ephemera, stickers, all of those wonderful things can be stored in here. So hopefully you guys saw something that you liked and this wasn't too boring. If you did, if you like anything, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Share the video because sharing is caring, and maybe someone else out there would love to see how to make this style journal for whatever use, even if they want to make it as an art advent journal. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, or you're returning and you haven't, please consider hitting that subscription button and then a notification bell so that you'll know when all the new great content comes out in the new year. Go ahead and hit up the comment section. Let me know. I'm getting tongue tied. Guys, let me know, what did you think of this idea? I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I understand that I can't close it, but I really like this, and it's still going to be put up and protected till next year. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be limited to just those products that I more than likely would have been forgot about. But is this something that you would do? Or just the journal itself? What do you think? The construction of that journal and you using this journal, especially if you're like a junk journal person. Like, this is wonderful for storing ephemera. Hit up the video description, guys. Let me know. Hit up the video description for all of the relevant links. You're going to find the Facebook group. You're going to find Patreon and Etsy. You're going to also find the most recommended product list, which will give you some great quality products that are budget friendly. Thank you guys so much for joining me and sharing your New Year's Eve day with me. Happy New Year's, everyone. I hope that you bring in the new year with joy, love, and happiness. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, there's that cover again that you can't see. Just keep painting and crafting.